أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Lesson number 211, Surah Ar-Rum. We'll begin from ayah number 54. Allahu alladhi, Allah is the one who, khalaqakum, He has created you. From what? Min da'fin, from weakness. Allah has created the human beings from what? From weakness. What does it mean by darf? Darf, this word has also been recited as darf. So it's quite possible that in your juz you have dhamma on the dad. But in the mushaf you will find a fatha. So both the pronunciations are correct, okay? They're both correct recitations. And the word darf is used for weakness, for feebleness, when something is frail, when something is feeble in and of itself. So the essence, the origin of human beings is what? Weakness. And how is that? That the human being, he has been created from what? Adam alayhi salam. Earlier in this surah we learned that Allah has created you from turab, from dust. And if you look at dust itself, it doesn't have any strength in itself, especially that which is dry, that which does not have any moisture in it. And the rest of the human beings, they have been created from a nutfa. And a nutfa is what? A sperm drop. And the mother's egg. What are they in themselves? Extremely weak. What can they do on their own? Nothing. They're so small, so tiny, that they cannot even be seen by the naked eye. And then this nutfa, it grows into a clot. And that clot turns into a lump of flesh. And that lump of flesh turns into bones, which is then clothed with flesh further. And then finally, the human being is born in a state of complete weakness. Isn't it so? The human being, as he is born, he is in a state of complete weakness. The weakest of all creatures at the time of birth is the human being. Because he cannot do anything at all. He cannot stand up within a few hours. He cannot sit up within a few hours. He needs to be covered immediately. He needs to be fed immediately. He's exhausted after the birth. So, the weakest of all creatures at the time of birth is the human being. And at that time, he's extremely weak. And then what do we see? That as a child grows older, gradually his weakness, it decreases. And his strength, it increases. We learn in Surah Al-Mursalat, ayah number 20, that أَلَمْ نَخْلُقكُم مِّن مَّاءٍ مَّهِينٍ. Did we not create you from a liquid that is disdained? Liquid that is not liked? In Surah An-Nahl, ayah 4, we learn, خَلَقَ الْإِنسَانَ مِن نُطْفَةٍ فَإِذَا هُوَ خَصِيمٌ مُبِينٌ. That Allah has created the human being from a sperm drop. What is a sperm drop? Something so weak. Then at once, the human being, what is he? He is a clear adversary. In Surah Al-Ma'arij, ayah 39, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, كَلَّا إِنَّا خَلَقْنَاهُمْ مِمَّا يَعْلَمُونَ. That indeed we have created them from that which they know. Meaning they know very well from what matter they have been created. Something that is extremely weak. And it's so weak, it's so small, that it's not even worth mentioning. In Surah Al-Insan, ayah number 1, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes the creation of the human being, the origin, that there was once a state that the human being came upon that lam yakun shay'an madhkura, that he was not even something worth mentioning. This is how weak he was. This is how small and insignificant he was. So Allah is the one who has created you from weakness. Summa, then, ja'ala, He made, min ba'di ضعفٍ, after weakness, quwwatan, strength. That after the human being was extremely weak, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala granted him strength. And quwwa is the opposite of ضعف. Meaning the human being is made to grow, and as he grows older, he becomes stronger in both the physical sense as well as the mental sense. Meaning he becomes mentally strong and he becomes physically strong. If you look at it, little children, you tell them one thing once, what happens after 2 minutes? They forget. Isn't it? You give them instructions, you make them understand. After 5 minutes, they will do the exact same thing again. It's not that they want to disobey you. Why is it? It's because they forget. They cannot remember. So this is the weakness of human beings. So what happens afterwards? As a human being grows older, he becomes strong mentally as well as physically. But then what happens? ثُمَّ جَعَلَ مِن بَعْدِ قُوَّةٍ ضَعْفًا. And then after strength, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives the human being again weakness. That as a human being grows older, he reaches the age of ashud, when he is mentally very, very strong, physically very, very strong, all of his capabilities are at its peak. And what happens? Then he begins to decline. Whatever he remembered before, he begins to forget that. Whatever he was able to do before, he's unable to do that. People who could walk for hours, what happens in their old age? They can barely stand. People who can cook for 50 people, but what happens? They can barely pour their own food on their plate. This is the weakness that the human being experiences after becoming very strong. So what's the arrogance about? ثُمَّ جَعَلَ مِن بَعْدِ قُوَّةٍ ضَعْفًا. And not just ضعفا, not just weakness, but also وَشَيْبَةٍ. And also old age. When people become gray-haired. Shayba is from the root letter shin ya ba, and it means to become gray-haired. So all that strength, it disappears. And people, they become old. يَخْلُقُ مَا يَشَاءُ. Allah creates whatever He wills. وَهُوَ الْعَلِيمُ الْقَدِيرُ. And He is the knowing, and He is the capable. He is the one who is always all able. Why are these two names mentioned over here? That He is Al-Alim. He knows how to create, what to give at what stage. And He is also Al-Qadir. He is also capable. No one can stop Him. In Surah An-Nahl, ayah number 70, we learn, وَاللَّهُ خَلَقَكُمْ ثُمَّ يَتَوَفَّاكُمْ. That Allah is the one who created you, and then He will take you in death. وَمِنْكُمْ مَنْ يُرَدُّ إِلَىٰ أَرْذَلِ الْعُمُرِ لِكَيْ لَا يَعْلَمَ بَعْدَ عِلْمٍ شَيْئًا إِنَّ اللَّهَ عَلِيمٌ قَدِيرٌ. And among you is he who is reversed to the most decrepit old age, so that he will not know after having had knowledge even one thing. Indeed, Allah is knowing and He is competent. In Surah Yasin, ayah 68, we learn, وَمَن نُعَمِّرْهُ نُنَكِّسْهُ فِي الْخَلْقِ أَفَلَا يَعْقِلُونَ. That he to whom we grant long life, any person who is granted long life, we reverse him in creation. We reverse him in his creation. That he was weak, he became strong, and now he will become weak again. So will they not understand? So what does this ayah show to us? The weakness of the human being. The helplessness of the human being. How dependent he is on Allah. How small he is, how little he is, how insignificant he is. وَيَوْمَ تَقُومُ السَّاعَةُ. And the day when the hour will appear. On the day when the hour will appear. Which hour is this? The hour of resurrection. Remember that the word sa'a is used for hour, but it's also used for moment. So, on the day when that moment will come. Which moment? That the trumpet will be blown, and the resurrection will occur, and the judgment will be established. So, وَيَوْمَ تَقُومُ السَّاعَةُ. On that day, what's going to happen? يُقْسِمُ الْمُجْرِمُونَ. The criminals will begin to swear. يُقْسِمُ, أَقْسَمَ يُقْسِمُ. This is from qasam, and what does qasam mean? To swear an oath. So the criminals, what will they do? They will begin to swear oaths. Why? Why do people swear oaths generally? Especially at a time of difficulty. Why? In order to get themselves out of trouble. In order to get themselves out of difficulty. And they begin to swear by Allah, they begin to swear their strongest oaths so that they're not held accountable. So that they're not blamed. They're not accused. So similarly, on the day of judgment, what's going to happen? The criminals, they're going to start swearing. Why? To get themselves out of trouble. Like we learn that the mushrikeen, what will they say? Wallahi Rabbina ma kunna mushrikeen. Mushrikeen will swear that by Allah, our Lord, we never did shirk. We were never mushrikeen. So people will begin to swear. And of the oaths that people will swear is going to be that مَا لَبِثُوا غَيْرَ سَاعَةٍ. That they did not remain except for an hour. Where? On the earth. Whereas in reality, they lived upon the earth for many, many hours, many, many moments. And after that, they lived in their graves, they stayed in their graves for even thousands of years. But what will they say because of the intensity, because of the extreme fear of the Day of Judgment? That by Allah, we did not remain in our graves or in the dunya except for just 1 moment, 1 hour, that's it. Why will they say this? That we did not stay in the dunya for just a few hours. Why? This is basically, they're trying to say that we did not have enough time. We did not have enough time that you can blame us today. That we hardly had any time, we barely opened up our eyes, and before we knew it, our life was over. We only stayed for just a few moments. So how can we be punished today? How can you punish us today? What does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say? كَذَلِكَ كَانُوا يُؤْفَكُونَ. Thus, they were deluded before as well. Where? In the dunya. That in the dunya, what was there? Deception. How were they deluded? How were they turned away from the truth? They kept on saying that, oh, we have time. We have time, long life, do whatever you wish. Eat, drink, have fun, enjoy yourselves. Life is for fun. This is what they said in the dunya. But on the Day of Judgment, what will they say? We were in dunya for only some time. We barely opened up our eyes, and that's it, our time was up. So how can we be held accountable today? And they will swear, مَا لَبِثُوا غَيْرَ سَاعَةٍ. Allah says, كَذَلِكَ كَانُوا يُؤْفَكُونَ. This is how they were deluded before as well in the dunya. Now why will they say this? That we only stayed in the dunya for a short time because of the horrors and the intensity of the Day of Judgment. That what they will experience will make them feel as though they enjoyed for very little time. In Surah Al-Nazi'at, ayah 46, we learn, كَأَنَّهُمْ يَوْمَ يَرَوْنَهَا لَمْ يَلْبَثُوا إِلَّا عَشِيَّةً أَوْ ضُحَاهَا. It will be on the day they see it as though they had not remained in the world except for an afternoon or a morning of it. What does this ayah show to us? That this life we think is very long is in reality very short. And the important things that we keep delaying, thinking, we'll do them tomorrow, we'll do them after a year, we'll do them when we turn this age, when we turn that age. You never know. You might not be able to. And if you keep delaying today, you might not be able to do it at all. And on the Day of Judgment, your life will seem very, very short to you. وَقَالَ الَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْعِلْمَ. And at that time, at that moment, then what's going to happen? Those people who were given knowledge, وَالْإِيمَانَ, and also faith. The people who were given ilm, as well as iman. What a blessing to have both of these things. Ilm and iman. Because people, they may have knowledge, whatever kind of knowledge it may be, worldly or whatever, but they don't have iman. On the other hand, there are many who do have iman, but when it comes to ilm, they're not that strong over there. So those people who have been given knowledge as well as faith, as well as iman. And who are they? Some have said it refers to the angels, and others have said that it refers to believing people. They will say that لَقَدْ لَبِسْتُمْ, that certainly you remained فِي كِتَابِ اللَّهِ, in the decree of Allah, meaning according to the decree of Allah, إِلَى يَوْمِ الْبَعْثِ, until the day of resurrection. Meaning, لَقَدْ لَبِسْتُمْ, you remained in the dunya, and also after that, in your grave. How long? فِي كِتَابِ اللَّهِ, according to the decree of Allah. Meaning according to what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had decreed for you. You say that you stayed in the dunya and the grave for just an hour? No. You stayed in the dunya for however long that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had decreed for you. 60 years, 50 years, 45 years, however long it was that Allah had decreed for you. And then after that in the grave, however long that Allah had decreed for you. So Kitabillah over here, what does it mean? Decree of Allah. You understand? Kitab over here does not mean book, but what does it mean? Decree. And if you take it to be book, then which book would it refer to? Lawhul Mahfuz. Because in that is written the decree of every creature, every matter. So fi kitabillah ila yawm al-ba'th. And you stayed in your graves until when? Until the day of resurrection. فَهَذَا يَوْمُ الْبَعْثِ. So this is the day of resurrection which you rejected. وَلَكِنَّكُمْ كُنْتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. But you did not know. You did not know that it would come to pass. Was it really that they did not know? They didn't believe in it. They denied it. They rejected it. What will happen on the day of resurrection is that as people will come out of their graves, they will say, Ya waylana man ba'athana min marqadina. That, oh woe to us, who has raised us from our sleeping places? Who has raised us from our marqadina, from our sleeping places? We were sleeping. What happened? Why did this happen? And the intensity of the Day of Judgment will make them feel as though the thousands of years that they laid in their graves was nothing. It was nothing but just a few seconds, nothing but just a few moments. This is what they will feel. And so at that time, the people will start swearing that we only stayed for a moment, we only stayed for a day, we only stayed for 10 days. But at that moment, what's going to happen? The people of knowledge, they're going to speak up. That no, you did not stay for just a day, you did not stay for just an hour, for just a moment. In fact, you stayed there for however long was decreed for you. These many years, these many thousands of years. In Surah Al-Saffat, ayat 20 to 21, we learn, وَقَالُوا يَا وَيْلَنَا هَذَا يَوْمُ الدِّينِ هَذَا يَوْمُ الْفَصْلِ الَّذِي كُنْتُمْ بِهِ تُكَذِّبُونَ. They will say, oh woe to us, this is the day of recompense. They will be told, this is the day of judgment which you used to deny. You didn't believe in it, and this is that very day. فَيَوْمَئِذٍ. So on that day, لَا يَنْفَعُ الَّذِينَ ظَلَمُوا مَعْذِرَتُهُمْ. The excuse of those people who do dhulm will not help them. لَا يَنْفَعُ. It will not help them at all. Who? الَّذِينَ ظَلَمُوا. Those people who did dhulm. What will not help them? مَعْذِرَتُهُمْ. Their excuse. What excuse did they present? What was their ma'dhirah? That we did not stay in the dunya except for just an hour. So this excuse is not going to help them. Because first of all, it's a false excuse. Isn't it so? They didn't stay for just an hour, they stayed for longer than that. So this excuse will not help them at all. وَلَا هُمْ يُسْتَعْتَبُونَ. Nor will they be allowed to appease. يُسْتَعْتَبُونَ is from the root letters عَيْن تا با. عَيْن تا با. عَتْب. Atb is to be upset with someone. To be upset with someone, to disapprove of what they have done. And when you're upset with someone, when you disapprove of what they have done, what do? You react in different ways, isn't it? Sometimes you just don't speak to them. Sometimes you stay silent. You don't look at them. You don't pay any attention to them. And the person who's being ignored, whom you're upset with, what do they try to do? What do they try to do? They try to make you happy. Isn't it? Even little children, if they do something wrong and you show them a little bit of your anger, how? By just making a straight face, what will they do? Smile at you. Right? Or they will do something to get you to be happy with them again. Isn't it? It's only natural. And Utba, from the same root, is approval. To be happy with someone, to approve of what they have done. And isti'tab, yusta'tabun is from? Isti'tab. Isti'tab is to try to remove the displeasure, to try to remove the anger that someone has towards you. The anger that they have in their heart for you, the disapproval. What is isti'tab? That you try to make them happy somehow. You try to make them have utba. You understand? So وَلَا هُمْ يُسْتَعْتَبُونَ. They will not be allowed to even please Allah. How would you do that? If someone's upset with you, how would you try to make them happy? How would you try to remove their anger? By apologizing. Isn't it? By saying sorry. So, وَلَا هُمْ يُسْتَعْتَبُونَ. They will not be allowed to even apologize. That, oh Allah, please forgive us. They will not be allowed to even say that. And if they say, it will not be accepted at that time. Similarly, what else does a person do to make the other person happy? What do people do? Let's say you were using your friend's machine and you broke it. Now she's upset with you. You say sorry to her. What else will you do? Replace it. Isn't it? The damage that you caused, the wrong that you did, replace it with something good. Now on the day of judgment, people will want to repent. People will want to go back to the dunya. People will want to perform some good deeds to earn the pleasure of Allah. Will they be allowed? No. وَلَا هُمْ يُسْتَعْتَبُونَ. They will not be allowed to appease. They will not be allowed to make amends. They will not be allowed to repent, to say sorry, to apologize, to perform some good deeds. No, they will not be allowed. In Surah Fussilat, ayah 24, we learn, وَإِن يَسْتَعْتِبُوا فَمَا هُمْ مِنَ الْمُعْتَبِينَ. And if they ask to appease Allah, they will not be of those who are allowed to appease. They will not be allowed to do that at all. No excuses will be accepted. No second chances will be given. No repentance will be accepted on that day. And a person will not be able to defend himself either. He will not be able to make any promises for the future either. That I will do this and I will do this and I will never do it. No, it will not happen. And as for the believers, on the other hand, what's going to happen with them? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be eternally pleased with them. But the mujrimeen, what do we see? That Allah will be eternally upset with them. Eternally. Just imagine, eternally upset. You cannot do anything to make Him happy. On the other hand, the believers, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be eternally pleased with them. This is why it is said, وَرِضْوَانُ مِنَ اللَّهِ أَكْبَرُ. That the pleasure from Allah, approval from Allah, that is the greatest. That is the greatest favor, the greatest blessing. We learn from a hadith that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will say to the people of paradise, that, O residents of paradise, and they will say, Labbaik, our Lord, and Sa'daik, meaning here we are happy at your service. And all the good is in your hands. He will ask them, are you pleased? Are you happy? And the believers, what will they say? Why would we not be pleased, O Lord, while you have given us what you have not given any other of your creation? And He will say, should I give you what is better than all this? First of all, He will ask them, are you happy? And they will say, of course, why not? So then He will ask them, should I give you what is better than this? Better than all that you have been given in Jannah? They will say, oh Lord, what is better than all of this? What could be better than this? And He will say, I will grant you my pleasure and will never afterwards be angry with you. Never ever. وَرِضْوَانُ مِنَ اللَّهِ أَكْبَرُ. وَلَقَدْ ضَرَبْنَا. And certainly we have presented لِلنَّاسِ, for the people, فِي هَذَا الْقُرْآنِ, in this Qur'an. For the people, in this Qur'an, we have presented min kulli masal, every kind of example, every kind of description. Mathal over here is example, description, every kind of evidence, every kind of argument to explain the truth, to make them understand the truth. Different types of examples Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given. And different types of explanations He has given to explain Tawheed to us, to explain resurrection to us, to explain many important concepts to us. وَلَئِنْ جِئْتَهُمْ. And surely if you came to them, بِآيَةٍ, with a sign, لَيَقُولَنَّ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا, then surely, definitely, the disbelievers will say, إِنْ أَنْتُمْ إِلَّا مُبْطِلُونَ. You are not except followers of falsehood. Mubtilun is a plural of mubtil. And who is mubtil? One who follows falsehood. One who lies. So, if you, meaning the Prophet ﷺ was being told, that if you present an ayah to the people, despite the fact that everything that is necessary for them to understand has been explained in the Qur'an, on top of that, if you presented an ayah to them, an ayah can be understood as a miracle that they demand, what will they say? You're only following falsehood. Meaning, what you're presenting is only batil. Why? Why do people behave in this way? Because those people who don't want to believe, they will not believe. They will not believe. If they do not believe by learning about the amsal, the mathal that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has presented in the Qur'an, then how will they believe by looking at a miracle, by seeing a miracle? Impossible. Because a person who wishes to accept the truth, who is in search of the truth, even a little bit is enough for him. Even a little bit is sufficient. So, those people who don't want to believe, no matter what evidence you bring to them, no matter what proof you give to them, logical, any kind, they will say, no. You are following falsehood. You are upon falsehood. You're not using your mind. Think about it. How is this applicable today? How can this ever happen? In Surah Yunus, ayah 96, we learn, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ حَقَّتْ عَلَيْهِمْ كَلِمَةُ رَبِّكَ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ. That indeed those people upon whom the word of your Lord has come into effect, they will not believe. كَذَلِكَ, thus, يَطْبَعُ اللَّهُ, Allah sets a seal, عَلَى قُلُوبِ الَّذِينَ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ, upon the hearts of those people who do not know. Allah sets a seal on the hearts of who? Those people who do not know. What does it show over here? The importance of knowledge. And what a great problem ignorance is. What a great problem ignorance is. That if a person does not know, what does that lead to? Taba', sealing of the hearts. Now you might say, if a person does not know, what's his fault? We might think like this, right? But what do we see over here? The problem is that many people, because of their lack of knowledge, what do? They reject. They deny. Without even finding out, without even learning about it, without even researching, without even investigating, what do? No. Isn't it so? Isn't it so? And this is with regards to deen and also with regards to many things of dunya. There is a statement in Arabic that النَّاسُ أَعْدَاءً لِمَا جَهِلُوا بِهِ, that people are enemies to what they're ignorant of. That something that people are ignorant of, what happens? They are averse to it. They dislike it. They don't like it at all. And once they get to know of it, once they find out about its benefits, then what happens? Their level of enmity, it decreases. And eventually they begin to like it and appreciate it. Isn't it so? Can you think of an example? Exactly, like certain foods. What happens? Some people have this thing in their mind, no, this food I can never eat. Isn't it? I just don't eat fish. I don't eat sushi. Right? Many people think like this. They've just made up their mind. But what happens? When somebody forces them, just try one piece, one bite. Just have a little bit. It's not that bad. Then what happens? They try it, they taste it. Like, yeah, it's not that bad. And then what happens? They begin to like it. Isn't it so? Similarly, children, their parents tell them, do this, do this, do this. But what happens? No, I'm not going to do it. But once they do it, they begin to like it. So this is a reality, that many times ignorance is the reason behind rejection, denial. So what's the solution? A person must learn. He must experience. He must investigate. He must find out before opposing something, before rejecting something, before denying something. And this is a sign of what? Open-heartedness. And if a person says, no, wrong, haram, then what is that a sign of? Close-mindedness. Yes, definitely something that Allah has declared haram, that we declare as haram as well. Something that Allah has prohibited, we're never going to try it. Never. But something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has not forbidden, something that He has not prohibited, something that in fact He wants us to do, how can we be averse to it without even trying it, without even experiencing it? You understand? So كَذَلِكَ يَطْبَعُ اللَّهُ عَلَى قُلُوبِ الَّذِينَ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. This is why it's very, very important that when we approach someone and we're telling them about Islam, we're telling them something about the deen, especially if they don't know, we have to be very, very careful. Why? Because if we're not careful in the way that we approach them, the first time they reject, what's going to happen? The second time, no matter how you explain it to them, they're not going to want to believe. Because then they become defensive. So when a person does not have knowledge, when a person does not have ilm, it's very important that we have to be careful in the way that we approach them. فَاصْبِرْ. So be patient. إِنَّ وَعْدَ اللَّهِ حَقٌّ. Indeed, the promise of Allah is truth. وَلَا يَسْتَخِفَّنَّكَ. And let them not disquiet you. الَّذِينَ لَا يُقِنُونَ. Those people who are not certain in faith. The Prophet ﷺ, at the end of the surah, he is being comforted. That fasbir, be patient, bear calmly, persevere, keep going, don't lose hope. Despite how these people oppose you, despite their terrible attitude towards you, despite their ridicule, despite their oppression, despite their persecution, what should you do? What should you do? Be patient and continue what you're supposed to do. And remember that inna wa'dallahi haqq. Indeed, the promise of Allah, it is true. Which promise of Allah? The promise of victory, the promise of His help, the promise of resurrection, the promise of judgment. That is definitely true. وَلَا يَسْتَخِفَّنَّكَ الَّذِينَ لَا يُقِنُونَ. And such people, they should never find you light. They should never find you weak. No. Remain firm, remain calm, be patient, don't lose it. Keep doing what you're supposed to do. وَلَا يَسْتَخِفَّنَّكَ الَّذِينَ لَا يُقِنُونَ. If you look at it at the beginning of the surah, what did we learn? غُلِبَتِ الرُّومِ فِي أَدْنَى الْأَرْضِ وَهُمْ مِنْ بَعْدِ غَلَبِهِمْ سَيَغْلِبُونَ فِي بِضْعِ سِنِينَ. And then after that, what did we learn? That the believers also will be happy on that day. Isn't it so? وَيَوْمَئِذٍ يَفْرَحُ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ. That day believers also will be happy. So at the beginning of the surah was a promise of victory. Promise of success, of freedom. Because remember that in Makkah, life had become so difficult that there seemed to be no hope of any change, because every single day the persecution was only increasing. It was only intensifying. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He gave hope at the beginning of the surah. And now at the end of the surah, what do we learn? That yes, the promise of Allah is true. Definitely circumstances will change. However, what do you need now? Sabr. Fasbir. Because without sabr, nothing at all can be achieved. What do we learn from the hadith? That وَأَنَّ النَّصْرَ مَعَ الصَّبْرِ. That indeed, nasr, victory, what does it come with? Patience. If you're not patient, you can never be victorious. You can never see the fruit of your effort. You have to be patient. But we see that this is one of the main lessons that we have forgotten today. That we are not patient. We cannot wait. We cannot have the patience to sit through class. We cannot have the patience to do our work sometimes. We cannot have the patience to, stay for 18 months. What happens after some time? We get bored. We get frustrated. We want to change. And this is why we cannot develop any skill. We cannot become stronger. Similarly, if somebody is opposing us, if somebody is creating difficulty for us, what happens? We're not patient at that point. We think, forget about it, it's getting too difficult, leave it. It's okay. Allah is Ghafurur Rahim. But we see that patience is something that is necessary. You have to remain firm. You cannot give up. And what is sabr? That you control yourself. You keep yourself firm on what you're supposed to do. You don't react negatively. You don't give up. You don't do what you're not supposed to do. And this sabr is necessary. Because without it, a person cannot achieve anything. And what is it that enables a person to do sabr? What gives him the courage to do sabr? This inner strength or this yaqeen? What yaqeen? What does the ayah say? Inna wa'dallahi haqq. That indeed the promise of Allah is true. That a person has a certainty. Yes, I am going through difficulty, but Allah has also promised reward. Yes, it's getting very difficult, but at the end of the tunnel, there will be light. Yes, it's a very stormy day, however, finally, the clouds will go. Isn't it so? The sun will be up. So when a person has this yaqeen in the promise of Allah, inna wa'dallahi haqq, then that enables him to do sabr. That gives him the patience. And we see that the Prophet ﷺ, what did he do throughout the Makki period? Sabr. If you think about it, so much opposition, so much difficulty, but the Muslims, they were not allowed to retaliate, neither with the tongue, nor with actions. Isn't it so? They weren't allowed to say anything, and they weren't allowed to do anything in response either. Because if they ever did, then what would that result in? More difficulty, more persecution. And we see that because of this patience, because of this sabr of the Prophet ﷺ, of the Sahaba, the generations that came afterwards, they benefited. Take the example of At-Taif. When the Prophet ﷺ went to Taif, what happened? How was he treated? Rejected. Isn't it so? Stones were hurled at him. and he was bleeding. And when finally he took refuge in a garden, what happened? Jibreel came to him and asked him, if you want, these people will be crushed. These mountains will be collapsed on them. Finished. What did the Prophet ﷺ say? Go ahead, finish them. They've injured me, they've abused me, they've ridiculed me, they've harassed me, I've had enough. This is what happens, right? We think that, we've been going through so much has been, bottling up inside of us that now we cannot take it anymore. He could have easily said that. I've had enough in Makkah, and now these people treat me like that as well. Yes, bring the punishment on them so that the rest of the people can also learn. Did he do that? No. What did he do at that point? Sabr. And what did he say? That it's okay. Perhaps their children will believe. Perhaps their children will believe. And didn't that happen? Their children believe. And from their descendants was who? From the people of Taif, their descendants was who? People of the subcontinent, Pakistan, India. You have a great muhsin. Someone who did a lot of ihsan on you. Who? Muhammad ibn Qasim. He was a Thaqafi. He was from Taif. Originally. He came to the subcontinent. And he is the one who brought Islam over there. And because of that, so many of us are Muslim today. Think about it. If the Prophet ﷺ said, forget it, finish them, I've had enough. He could have easily said that. Isn't it so? But he was patient. He had sabr. And as a result, so many people afterwards became Muslim. What gives a person the ability to have this much sabr? Inna wa'dallahi haqq. وَلَا يَسْتَخِفَنَّكَ الَّذِينَ لَا يُقِنُونَ. And those people who do not have yaqeen, don't let them find you light. What does it mean by this? يَسْتَخِفَنَّكَ is from the root letters kha, fa, fa. Kha, fa, fa. Istighfaf is the masdar, and it's from khafif. And khafif means to be light. It's the opposite of thaqeel. What is thaqeel? Heavy. And khafif is light. So that which is light in weight. What does it mean by this? They should not find you light. Meaning, don't let them make you lose your certainty, lose your conviction due to the lightness of your faith and determination. Don't let them find you light in your faith. Don't let them find you light in your determination, in your sabr. That because of their opposition, because of their words, what happens? You give up. No. Don't let them find you light at all. Don't let them find you light in your trust, in your reliance. Don't let them make you lose it. That you become impatient. You lose confidence. You lose heart. You begin to worry and become anxious. No. Don't let them find you light at all. Also, khafif is used for someone who doesn't have much say, who doesn't have much authority, whose statements are not given much importance. What kind of a person is such that their statements are not given any importance at all? What kind of a person is he? That no matter what he says, people don't give any attention to it. Someone who's insignificant. Also, someone who's foolish. Okay, what the person is saying is not based on aql. Sometimes some people have this habit of complaining all the time. So what happens when they complain? Do people give any attention to them? No. No matter what they say, will people believe them? No. If a person is complaining all the time, I'm very tired, I'm very tired, I'm very tired. And even if they're very tired, and they make a big fuss about it, will people give any importance to them? No. Their statement does not carry any weight. Isn't it so? So, لَا يَسْتَخِفَنَّكَ الَّذِينَ لَا يُقِنُونَ. Don't let them find you light in your statement, that they ignore you and they blow your statements in the air. No. You have to be firm. You have to be confident. You have to be truthful. You have to have good akhlaq. You cannot show any kind of impatience, any kind of intolerance, so that your statements have weight. And people don't consider your statements to be insignificant. Because imagine if the Prophet ﷺ displayed even a little bit of bad akhlaq. Would people give any importance to what he would be saying? No. If a person shows bad temper, if a person shows anger out in public, do people give him any respect? Nothing at all. So لا يستخفنك الذين لا يوقنون. Also, khafif is used for someone who is short-tempered, and thaqeel is someone who has waqar, someone who has dignity. So he doesn't lose his temper in every little thing. And he doesn't lose his temper out in the open. So don't let them anger you. Don't let them upset you, because then you will lose your effectiveness. If you begin to show anger, if you lose your patience, and you show your temper, then what's going to happen? You will lose your effectiveness. Don't let these people find you impatient. That on the slightest thing, you lose your principles, you lose your akhlaq. No matter how much angry they try to make you, you cannot lose your calm. Khafif is also used for someone who has only limited, little, shallow ability. You understand? Someone who is foolish, someone who is not that determined, someone who is not that well-grounded. And khafif, on the other hand, is someone who has a very firm and solid base. Like, for example, Fir'aun, we learn about him that فَاسْتَخَفَّ قَوْمَهُ فَأَطَاعُوهُ. That Fir'aun found his people light. What does it mean by that? He found his people light. That they weren't that determined. Which is why no matter what he said to them, what happened? The people believed him. The people followed him. You understand? He said to the people, oh, this is a magician. They believed him. Right? He said that Musa is the teacher of all of these magicians. They believed him. You understand? He said, okay, let's go across the sea. They followed him. Isn't it so? So, what is it that made them follow Fir'aun, even though what he was doing was khilaful aql? What is it that made them do it? It was because they were not firm. They were not determined. They didn't have aql. They didn't use their own reason. So don't let these people find you light in your position and standing. Don't let them find you light, and don't let them move you from your way. Rather, you have to be firm. Don't let them make you impatient, intolerant. Don't let them make you resort to foolishness. Don't let them make you compromise. And never ever let them make you uncertain. What a deep ayah. One word, but so deep in its meaning. Think about it. Because when a person is going through difficulty, what happens? He loses his sabr. Allah says, لا يستخفنك الذين لا يوقنون. Don't let them find you light. On the slightest thing, what happens? You lose your patience, you lose your cool. No. What else happens at the time of opposition? A person, he loses his determination. He loses his confidence. No. Don't let them make you lose your confidence. Don't let them make you lose your determination. It makes a person intolerant. Don't let them make you intolerant. It makes a person compromise. Don't let them compromise. It makes a person uncertain. Don't let them make you uncertain. لا يستخفنك الذين لا يوقنون. Never ever let them be successful against you. Rather, you have to be firm, you have to be strong, and only then will you be successful. And this is a great lesson for us. That no matter what the opposition is, how the other person is treating you, you cannot lose your values and principles. You understand? You cannot compromise. You cannot lose your faith. And this is something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us. لا يستخفنك الذين لا يوقنون. Recitation. Discuss the last ayah. Especially لا يستخفنك الذين لا يوقنون. Give relevant examples that how is it, in what situations is it that we give up either our confidence or our determination, or we end up compromising. We see many times, what is the problem with young people? Peer pressure. Isn't it? Friends. They make big promises, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm never going to do this. But what happens the moment they see their friends? What happens? They forget everything. They become so light. It's as if they never made any resolve, any promise, any goals, nothing. Everything goes out the window. Isn't it? So what does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say over here? لَا يَسْتَخِفَنَّكَ الَّذِينَ لَا يُوقِنُونَ. Those people who don't have yaqeen, never let them find you light. Because if they find you light, then what happens? What does that mean? You're defeated. And they have won against you.
Assalamu alaikum. I remember I was watching a news channel and the host was interviewing. He was asking like, what stops Muslims from going out and praying in like your workplaces and all that. And the guy, he replied and he said, it's because people are scared of what other people are going to say. So they compromise on their religion because they think, okay, you know what, these people are not going to allow us to do it. And if they say no once, they're not firm on it, they're not steadfast on their religion. And I was thinking about it, I'm like, subhanAllah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us, don't let people take advantage of you. If you let them take advantage of you, they'll keep stepping on you all the time.
Exactly.
So, like, keep firm in your religion and stay steadfast.
Exactly. You see people who are not firm, what happens? You can convince them to do anything. Isn't it? What do you say? Oh, don't worry about them. I can tell them. I can convince them. I can make them listen. But people who are firm, who are principled, what happens once they make up their mind? You cannot make them change their mind at all. So, لَا يَسْتَخِفَنَّكَ الَّذِينَ لَا يُوقِنُونَ. Many times when it comes to worldly matters, we become very strong-headed. Very strong-headed. People tell us, eat this, go here. But what happens? No, I'm never going to do it. I'm never going to eat this. I'm never going to go. But when it comes to the deen, it's as if we have no foundation, no root whatsoever.
Assalamu alaikum. I was just thinking that a man of principles with intolerance. Having principles does not equal to intolerance. Basically, I think as a Muslim, you should also be flexible. So have your basic foundation grounded, but with different situations, different people, also be flexible with that. But don't shake your initial foundation.
Exactly.
I was just thinking as to, for people that complain a lot, and especially when people face a lot of opposition, they tend to feel like, oh, they're all alone. And then instead of turning to Allah, they turn to others. And then you complain so much, and then you're no longer looked as the leader. So then how could you complain to others and ask others for help and then expect to give advice to others? No one will come to you for advice. So if you don't remain firm and you don't rely on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then you will just be considered as weak.
Exactly. That if a person is firm himself, only then can he make other people firm. You know, sometimes some people, what they do, everybody knows that this is what they do. And you can't make them change their mind. Isn't it? And what happens eventually? People accept it. Even if they don't like it, they accept it. When? When the person himself is determined. When he's not going to give up. Like for example, people who smoke. Their mother tells them don't smoke. Father tells them don't smoke. Wife tells them don't smoke. The little child is sent again and again, Daddy, don't smoke. But what happens? Do those men ever change? No, they keep smoking. So what happens eventually? A time comes when people say, let him do whatever he wants to. This is what he's going to do. And then people stop even trying. Now this is what happens when it comes to fulfilling the desire of the nafs. People accept it. So why is it when it comes to the deen, we become so weak that people can have the guts to say whatever they want to on our face? It's because we are not determined ourselves. What happens? We start one thing today, we leave it tomorrow. Isn't it? Like for example, people start hijab, they leave it. They start niqab, they leave it. So what happens when people say, oh, this person does not have any determination, you can make him change his mind anytime, anyhow. So when you are not firm yourself, then you're giving other people the ability to say anything they want to make you move away from anything that they want. You have to become firm, a person of principle, who does not budge, who does not move from their principles. It does not mean we become rude and harsh, because when you become rude, then what happens? You lose your effectiveness again.
We're thinking that we are 21 juz right now. And from whole beginning, I think shaitan comes in many different ways. Especially whenever you go outside to do khair, shaitan will come first in the beginning and tell you you won't be able to do it. And when you reach the middle path, he will tell you know enough, you have done enough, now sit at home. And when he finds your determination, then you move on. At the end, he will use people around you. And these people you love, your children, your family, and they will say, no, you can't do this. They will oppose you a lot. Still, that's when you have to have patience, because know that I have come along, Allah have helped me, inshallah He will keep helping me.
Exactly.
That's when you know that the promise of Allah is true. And I remember when last year when we were doing my course, I had my first immigration interview, and it was hard because the first time they saw me, I did not wear niqab. I was just without niqab. So I went there, and before I went, someone told me, "Are you wearing this thing, the face cover?" I'm like, "Yes." "Are you going to go inside with this face cover? They're going to treat you very harshly." And I'm like, "It's okay." He said, "No, you have to take it off because I won't be able to help you." I said, "It's okay, Allah will help me." He said, "Okay, I will see how Allah will help me." He told me. And then I went inside, and they asked, "Are you not going to move it?" I said, "Only if you give me female judge, I will take it off." And he was so upset. He was speaking so harshly to me, but I did not remove it. So we never seen anyone who come to the court with niqab, and I'm like, "It's okay." I kept saying it's okay. So he treated me so harshly and told me so many bad words that I think, they told me come back next time. And I thought when I came out, I felt maybe next time I should go without a niqab. And next morning when I came, we're doing this ayah. Next time I called them, they say, "Okay, come back, we have female judge for you."
See, لا يستخفنك الذين لا يوقنون. Don't let them find you light. Why is it that you have to compromise? They should be compromising, especially when they can. When they can offer a female one, then why should you be compromising on your values, on your religion, on your principles? You have to become firm. You understand? Okay. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.